Holy crony. Look at that. I'm just sitting here. I had some thoughts and I still am, gonna share some thoughts with you. And I was just looking at all that gray hair coming in. We're gonna chalk it up to wisdom, okay? I also let it dry naturally this morning, so it's like there's some that's curly, some that's kind of straight, but it's all kinky. Kinky. Ooh. Anyway, so I was thinking about something that I want to share with you. So this will go in the Musings playlist. I am actually keeping a journal right now, separate from like my everyday stuff, separate from my dream journal. It's stuff that, like stuff that happened. My first memory of things that I would consider either paranormal or something of a, what do you call them? Spiritual events. Because it has to do with, all my experiences that I'm logging have to do with supernatural things, Like my very first memory, I wasn't even a year old, and I had sleep paralysis. And because that was such a traumatic thing for me, I remember it. I was awake, and I couldn't move, and I saw my dad looking at me, and I knew he could, it was like he was looking at me like, And then my mom came up behind him, and, my dad and my mom separated by the time I was a year and a half old. And the place where it happened, you know how you get validation for memories and where things happen from talking about it with your, with other people that remember those places. So that was one of them that I knew that particular memory had taken place, that event had taken place in a house that we lived in when I was a little baby. So this place is in Jonesville, Michigan. But one of the, that's my first memory. So anyway, along the way, there's been a lot of stuff that's happened. And what I'm going to describe to you is kind of like a conclusion that I came to. So I'm going to describe two events that happened within like years of each other, that when I reflected upon it, certain things dawned on me. And I've talked about it with my sister, and it's just like one of those moments. And so one of the times that I had a sensation that I was going to go into like a sleep paralysis moment, I also chalk it up to, there's a lot of things that, like there's commonalities between demon possession, alien abduction, sleep paralysis. Okay. So I don't know if I was a teenager yet or not, but I was spending the night with my grandma, and she had a spare bedroom that used to be my Uncle Charlie's room. So I was sleeping in there, and I know it was like late morning. I woke up and I could hear my grandma yelling, "Carla, Sue, are you gonna get up?" And it's like, when you oversleep, you feel kind of groggy, right? So I just chalked it up to that. So anyway, I sat up, I pulled my knees up to my chest, and I was just like psyching myself up to wake up. And I felt like in my mind's eye, like something was tunneling at me. And in my mind's eye, I could almost feel it was coming from, far away, like traveling across the land through the air, you know what I mean? Like a bird even, you know, but it was a swirling type energy, and it was coming at me. And because of things that had happened in the past, I remembered that I had control to say, you know, in Jesus' name, you know, you're not welcome here. And I kind of said it under my breath, but I was thinking it at the same time. And whatever that was tunneling at me, like, stopped. And as quick as it was moving towards me, it just shot backwards. And I was wide awake. And I got up. And at that point, you know, it's like there had been a lot of things that had happened in my youth that, and I had been talked about it with my mom and stuff. So, and she was just like, you know, keep the Lord's Prayer open in your room, you know. So I didn't have my Bible with me at my grandma's, but, you know, everything was, you know, give it to Jesus, and he'll make sure you're protected type thing. Several years later, I was in my early 20s. No, maybe I was in my late 20s. Anyway, my oldest daughter then was like 4 or 5. So yeah, I was in my later 20s. But I was sitting on my couch, and I was deep in thought, almost meditating, really on accident. I was just kind of zoning out, really. And I don't think anybody was in the house at that time. I don't remember. In fact, actually, maybe Michaela was taking a nap, but I just remember it being really quiet in there. And in that moment, like within a second, I was in my third eye again. And I've left my body. I'm like on the couch, and I just literally just left my body. And I was tunneling like that. I was tunneling like that across the world. And as I'm flying through the air, as I'm doing this, I know that I'm tunneling because I can feel the energies. It's like portaling, you know, like when you see on a sci-fi, it shows like when they hit the speed of light or whatever, it just, it's like that. But I was, you know, it was like a tunnel. And all of a sudden I'm at the roof of this big building, and I go through the roof, and it's like it's a Christmas scene, but mind you, when this is happening, it's summer, but it's Christmas where I'm at, where I'm tunneling through. And it was like I was remote viewing. And in fact, that's what I thought I was doing. And maybe I was. But as I tunnel through this, go through the roof of this building, I can see there's like, it's a big party, and there's a lot of people everywhere, and it's a big Christmas party, and there's big Christmas trees, like large Christmas trees, because the ceiling is like really high, almost like a factory ceiling. You know how high those are. And as I'm tunneling down into this building, there's a bunch of people, and I see this little boy. He looks like he's like 10, you know, I'm guessing, a young boy. And he has really dark hair and a bright red sweater on. And all of a sudden he looks at me. He like literally looks up at me. And I can tell that he sees me. He sees me, you know, and I'm like, whoa. And as soon as he sees me, I stop, and I tunnel almost as quick as, you know, like the blink of an eye, but I know that I tunneled back, and I'm back in my body, and I wake up. You know what I mean? Like I wasn't asleep, but it was like being in a hypnotic state. And I was just like, what So as I talk about these things, you know, it dawned on me, what were the two common denominators in those two events? It was the fact that there was tunneling. One was something else coming to me because I felt it, I knew it. I just couldn't see what it was. I just knew that it was tunneling at me. And the second event, it was me doing the tunneling. And I had left my body to do that. I was either remote viewing or I was like out of time, and, you know, as far as like out of my time, you know, out of my plane of existence somewhere else. I really don't even think that any of that so much matters. It's just what it was. And it just kind of like, okay, where I used to think those things were like something was kind of didn't feel right about it. You know what I mean? I was afraid of the whole sleep paralysis thing. And now it's like, well, if I could do that, and I was just, you know, a young mother. I wasn't into tarot. In fact, I was very much into the Bible at that time. And I was able to remote view or leave my body, astral travel. Sorry, I got major eye boogers. It's allergy season for me. Dang. Anyway, so like, isn't it's amazing, and I understand exactly what it was I was doing. And so that boy was me at frickin', you know, when it happened to me as a little kid. And now, since I was the one that was tunneling, the fear's gone. I haven't had fear for a long time, but I mean, actually even before I put two and two together. But so sometimes those interdimensional beings that we experience, it's you and me. It's you and me. We're doing it. Doesn't mean that something else can't. It just means that we can. Anyway, I thought I'd share that with you. Thanks for listening.